Hello and welcome to the photography show and the video show Spring Shoots, the second virtual festival of photography and the moving image. Over the next couple of days, we have a wealth of insights and inspiration, equipment and accessories, bargains and best buys, clinics, tutorials, conversations. Basically, we've got the whole kit and caboodle, and we're delighted that you're here with us for the ride. For example, one thing to mark your card with, later on today, we'll be live in conversation with one of the most influential fashion and portrait photographers of the last 3 decades. Rankin will be here talking about his recent work with the NHS Frontline, about running a creative business in 2021, all that and much, much more. And that's later today at 4 p.m. So if you'd like to pop a question to Rankin, then get in touch on social media at UK Photo Show on Twitter. We'll do it. I've just tweeted something out if you want to reply to that. The Photography Show on Instagram. You'll find us wherever we are, I'm sure. Anyway, there's lots more taking place throughout the day here. So take a look through the agenda, dip in and out, ask questions, say hi, because I'm on my own all day here in the studio. Above all, make the most of what is an immense gathering of imaging expertise over the next couple of days. And for our first session today, some of you may be familiar with the regular Saturday show on Olympus UK's Facebook page, Coffee with the Claires. Now, if you've never tuned in, then you are in for a right treat. I've just been listening to them talk for the last 15 minutes. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'd like to introduce you to Claire and Claire, who love to talk all things Olympus and much, much more. If you've got any questions whatsoever, pop them into the comments and they'll do their best to answer them. Claire, how are you doing?
Morning, David.
Morning.
How are you?
Morning. I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to what I know is going to be a very busy, very exhausting, but a lot of fun couple of days here. Catching up with everyone who, usually we get to catch up with face to face. We're doing it virtually right now, but I know it's going to be a lot of fun all the same.
Absolutely. I miss you sticking a microphone in my face and asking me questions. That's what I miss the most. I mean, I cannot wait for us all to be together in the same hall again and, for us to sort of meet our work colleagues and our industry colleagues and have a good old catch up. How fun will that be?
It's going to be great.
I cannot wait. And, fingers crossed, another few weeks, another few months, and we'll be there. But anyway, I'm gonna let you let you crack on. So I've got so many different voices ringing around in my ears at the moment. I'm going to hand over to you and let you answer some of the questions which I already see are stacking up in the chat here. So Claire's, take it away.
Thanks, David. See you at the end. Claire, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Good morning. I'm really, really well. What a beautiful day after this week's awful weather. Today there is some sunshine. I don't know about sunshine, which is fabulous.
It is. We've got a little bit of sunshine. Still a bit cloudy here in Cambridge, but I've got my coffee with the Claire's mug. I'm ready for this virtual photography show.
I know, isn't it exciting? It is really exciting. Obviously, if you follow the Olympus UK Facebook channel, you would have seen me and Claire on every sort of third Saturday. We try and brighten your Saturdays by interviewing a photographer every week. And, it's become a real Saturday morning treat. So today to be able to be invited onto the virtual photography show and talk things photography on a bit of a bigger scale. How exciting. And there's so much coming up over the weekend, honestly. If you haven't registered, which you should have because you'd be watching this, honestly, yes, exactly. Get your friends and family to watch because there's so much exciting stuff coming up over the next couple of days. So I am going certainly to be tuning into some of my favourite photographers. So Claire, what's going on?
Absolutely. Well, we've already got some questions in the comments box. So I'm gonna pick a couple of questions out. We've got one from Steve. What was your first Olympus camera?
Ah, right. Okay, Steve. I'm a little bit older than Claire. I mean, only by a couple of years. I mean,
Only marginally, yeah. Marginally.
I mean, I was around when 35 mil, but long before digital was even
Wait, what's
thought
that? What's that? 35 mil.
Film. Yeah, it's called film camera, Claire. You put a film in,
okay.
and you know, these young millennial sort of digital types. So I was around. I had an OM1N. I was an Olympus user back in the day. In fact, I still have my OM1N, and I always have it with an HP5 in it. Admittedly, that film doesn't get developed for about 2 years. But the joy about that is I'll go back once I've developed that film, and then I think, oh my gosh, I remember those. So actually, it's really nice. So I do. What about you, Claire? What was your first Olympus?
My first Olympus was an EPL. Well, I had an EPL1 and an EPL2. It was when I first started working with Olympus, and they were brilliant. They were these tiny little, before I'd used big DSLRs, and these tiny little pen cameras with little lenses. You could carry it anywhere with you. I loved the art filters and the creativity, and they were just so small. And we've come so far with developing this technology from those pen cameras. It's fantastic. I loved it then. I still love it now. I shoot now with a EM1X and an EM1 Mark II. And yeah, they're fantastic.
And the thing is, obviously, the Olympus system going from the pen right the way through to the OMD is small, it's neat, and that's the joy of it, the light mobility. None of us are getting any younger. It costs a lot more money to put kit onto planes. That sort of extra baggage, is it more expensive? So when if you travel somewhere to Africa, you can take 2 bodies, 4 or 5 lenses, loads of bits and pieces, and you're still only on sort of 8 kilo. And that's when you start to really notice how useful the smaller, lighter kit is. That's for true.
Absolutely. So we have another
any more
question.
Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a few. Robin Johnson. Hi, Claire's. Any news on Olympus store and repairs? I was offered a voucher in place of a repair and would love to spend it on a 12-100 f4 Pro. That's a great choice of lens. So, Robin, yes, we are working hard to get the shop reopened. We are still waiting for HMRC to issue a VAT number. So, we're ready. We are ready to start selling, start shipping, but we do just have to wait until we can get that VAT number from HMRC. So please do bear with us. We are, like I say, ready to go, aren't we, Claire? We're itching to go since January and get some sales going, but please just give us a little bit longer, and hopefully we'll have that sorted soon. So we have a couple more questions. Are Olympus still doing Test and Wow? Well, Test and Wow is actually a great program. It's run through some of our camera retailers, and currently all the camera retailers are closed. So it's not operational at the moment, but we're hoping that as soon as they can reopen and work out a safe way to do Test and Wow, that they will. So again, please bear with us on Test and Wow, and we'll do that as soon as we can.
I'm back.
You're back, yeah. Do you see how I just smoothly carried on talking whilst you disappeared and came back? Oh, you didn't see?
No, I was frozen, and then my internet completely dropped out, and I thought, well, Claire's got enough practice. I think she's professional enough. She will just carry on without me until I come back. And I think, well done, Claire. Well done for just smoothing that way through.
We say this on every live that we do, every Facebook live that we do. It's live. Anything could happen. We're all working at home. Technology can fail, internet can fail. And I think it was last Saturday, Claire had audio problems. Yeah. I had video issues because of my internet. So it happens. But here we are. You're back in the room and we're all right. So I answered a couple of questions.
Well done. Good on you. All I heard was ding dong. And then I thought, okay, that's my internet dropping out. So I've now gone Wi-Fi. So it is what it is. That happens, doesn't it? So you've answered a couple of questions. How did you get on?
I've answered a couple of questions. Yeah, it was good. We spoke about Test and Wow. We spoke about the Olympus shop. So we've covered all of that. And And so what I forgot to mention was the wonderful photography show virtual offers that we're doing, Claire.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
what I meant to bring up next.
Yes, obviously with the photography show doesn't go by without some fabulous discounts and offers from our retail partners based on the show. So do you want to go through a couple of them, Claire?
Yeah, so it's quite simple. There's 10% off using a voucher code with WEX and LCE. And I'm going to go to my other computer here because it's logged me out as it would during a, and then I forget my password and then you do the wrong one.
But yeah, I mean, 10% off is good. There are some fabulous deals out there. What have we got?
So the items include EM1 Mark III body and a couple of the kits, the 12 to 40 kit, the 12 to 100 kit. We have EM1X body, EM5 Mark III is in there, and a huge range of lenses, the 12 to 40, the 40 to 150 Pro, the 7 to 14 Pro. There's loads on there. So head on over to the shop section to check out WEX and London Camera Exchange and pick up 10% off your purchase over the weekend.
Yes, and if you've been thinking since Christmas and lockdown that you've had a specific lens on your mind, and you know you haven't been able to get it from Olympus UK, or you've been sort of thinking you maybe put a bit of money away with not spending it in all those coffee shops and pubs, now's the time to treat yourself. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
That's a really good idea. So Claire, let's talk about what you've been shooting. Let's talk about what you've been shooting since I last spoke to you. Because I sort of... Go on.
Go. You go. No, you go.
I go. You go. So, if you follow us, I've known Claire for about 7 years now, and Claire always shoots with a 25mm. Claire loves what you can see with the eye. You know, the eye looks at about 49mm, and with the 25mm, you in micro four thirds terms, you double up, and that sort of makes that 50. And Claire's always been a huge fan of the 25mm 1.2. Whenever I go out shooting with her, she's always got that attached to the lens. But recently, she's starting to become a bit of a convert to our wildlife life. I've been shooting wildlife. I mean, not very well. I'm not brilliant, but obviously you've got to get out and practice, which I've not been doing massively. But since Claire and I went to Africa the year before last, of course, she's now got the wildlife bug. And once you get the wildlife bug, let me tell you, it does not leave. And not only do you take amazing pictures, but you learn about your environment, you learn about nature, you learn about the animals and the birds and the insects around you. And it's not just about photography, it's about that whole encompassing journey. So Claire, talk to us about your wildlife journey and what you've been shooting.
So it started probably last year in lockdown, and Claire was telling me, get some feeders, get some bird feeders, put them on your fence. And so I did. And actually at the beginning, I've only been getting house sparrows, but it's a great way to start. So I started with just birds in the garden back when we were on strict stay-at-home lockdown. And I was using the 40 to 150. I set up the camera quite close and switched to the 12 to 40 and used the OI Share app. So being able to just sit there, clicking, having my cup of tea, clicking away, taking some photos with the app. And then the more I've walked around the fens, I live in Cambridgeshire, the more wildlife I've been seeing. And you actually go looking for, little birds. And I've been lucky enough to photograph a local barn owl, and there's a little owl around. And I've just got the bug. I'm just out like every morning with this beautiful light going, right, let's find these little birds. I've got the EM1X, the 300mm. And I'm totally hooked on it.
And the thing is, as I said, it really is just not just about the photography, isn't it? You really start looking at nature a bit more. You start sort of really appreciating your surroundings. And I think lockdown has done that for all of us, because we're so used to going to bars and pubs and restaurants and having a great time, don't get me wrong. But when you have those sort of quieter moments when you're out in the morning with your camera, just yourself.
Yeah.
And nature, how different, do you have that outlook on life? And I definitely feel that as we move towards unlockdown, that people are much more in tune with nature. People are much more in tune with the light and golden hour and all those things. And I think people's photography, and we've sort of seen this over the last year with Olympus UK, people are trying different things. They're trying new genres. A lot of people doing macro and light painting and wildlife. And I think there's actually some good things that have come out of lockdown, and I think that's people taking a step back from their busy, hectic lifestyles and looking at a more sort of natural world. And we could own that's got to be a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have got loads I've just refreshed the questions and there's loads. So I'm gonna read out a couple of questions.
Read one out.
They've refreshed again. So Anchor says, "Hi girls, hello from Kent."
Hey,
Kirsty
Anchor,
Hepworth.
lovely to see you. Lovely to see you, Kirsty.
Kirsty Hepworth, love the Olympus lenses. They are epic. Let's have a look.
I mean, one thing we do well is glass. We are superb glass manufacturers and have been for 100 years. So, if you ever go on.
Here's one from Peter Cox. How usable is the 40 to 150 2.8 with MC20 fitted, considering the lens is not image stabilized?
Right. Okay. Really good question. So when the 2x converter came out, now I've been in the industry for 36 years, and two times converters weren't always. They were given sort of a fairly bad rep, the 1.4s, and this is talking from all manufacturers. The 1.4s have always had like a really good rep. You get a better aperture, obviously. But with the 2x, people will say, 2x converters. No. When the 2x converter came out, I went to ScoMA. I'd never been to ScoMA before. I was very excited. Obviously, shots of a lifetime, the puffin shots. And I took the 40 to 150 2.8 and the 2x, nothing else, because I wanted to test that combination as it was. Now, they were sharp as you like. I mean, you couldn't get any sharper. I was astounded by how the image didn't deteriorate from the 1.4. Incredible combination, because obviously the lens is really small. You're getting the 2.8, so you're getting that super aperture combined with the 2x. It's a perfect combination because it's giving you that extra focal length and you're only dropping a couple of stops, and so you're shooting at 5.6 at sort of 800 and odd mil, and it's fantastic. It's an absolute game changer at 600 mil 35 mil terms at f5.6. Why would you not want to do that combination? And it's like this, when you put the two together, they're really small. 100% recommended. One of my favorite combinations. And of course, if it's too long, you can take the 2x off, pop it in your pocket, and then you've got an 80 to 300 in 35 mil terms, which again, brilliant for portraits, brilliant for landscapes. It's such an all-rounder, that lens. So yes, a perfect combination.
That's it. And the inbuilt image stabilization, it nails it every time. You absolutely can see it working for video. Try shooting video with it, and you'll see how stable the inbuilt image stabilization holds it. It's brilliant.
Exactly. So for some reason I can't see the questions anymore, Claire. So if you want to refresh,
that's all right.
I've got another.
Yeah. So we've got a question from Ben. I want to upgrade from EM10 Mark III. Would you recommend EM1 Mark II or EM5 Mark III? Ooh.
It depends on what you want to do, Ben. I mean, if you're a street shooter or a portrait shooter, you're not going to be relying on the super fast, high speed. I would say you've got to think about battery options as well, because when you go up to the EM1 range, you get a much bigger battery. You also get the option to put a grip on the bottom, so that then takes you into another dimension. If you want to use, if you're out doing wildlife and things like that, the battery on the EM5 is a bit smaller. But if you're doing street photography, or if you're just doing your sort of standard out and about family stuff, or
travel,
focus stacking, that sort of thing, it's fine. But I would say, think about the genre that you're shooting. If battery life is going to be a thing, you definitely need to jump up to the EM1 series, be that an EM1 Mark II, which we've got deals on, or an EM1 Mark III, or even the EM1X. But for me, I would look at the battery first. That's what I would decide on, whether or not, the smaller battery is going to do what you need for your shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. Morris says, good morning. I always look forward to Coffee with the Claires. Fun and informative. Thank you very much, Morris.
Thanks, Morris. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so Vicky Smith, good morning. Looking to purchase the EM1 Mark III, but hence the price difference between the EM1 Mark II and Mark III. What are the key differences, please?
Okay, so with
the differences between the one
and the two. So, I mean, there are quite a few differences. But what I would say is if pennies are a bit of an issue and you're thinking, the EM1 Mark III is a bit of a stretch, the EM1 Mark II had on its last firmware update, an incredible firmware update. I mean, even I was shocked because we gave the EM1 Mark II all the autofocus, the latest autofocus algorithms that the EM1X had. And we put that into the EM1 Mark II, and it made the EM1 Mark II incredible. So, you've got things like 9 squares, you've got the super AF algorithms. So, if it's a cost thing, you certainly won't be undersold with the EM1 Mark II, that's for sure. The EM1 Mark III has a newer processor, so again, it does mean that the cards write and read a little bit faster. You do need to get decent cards. You need to get at least sort of top end cards like UHS-C2, and you need to get the fastest card you can afford, to be fair, because obviously that helps. But I mean, as I said, the EM1 Mark II has had some incredible firmware updates. So if you do purchase one of those, just make sure you do your firmware update right away. You do lose a couple of things like, but is it such a big change? I think if you're coming up from an EM10, I'd probably jump to an EM1 Mark III. If you're coming across from a different brand, EM1 Mark II is certainly going to be the one for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank Williams, how is the interest in your new 150? It says 150-500, but I think he means 150-400 Pro lens. My goodness, Frank, the interest has been incredible. In fact, Claire, you have one there with you right now.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
Here's one I made earlier.
I used to be able to say this is the only one in the country.
It's not anymore.
But should we go over that now, Claire? Should we talk about this lens now? Let's go over it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
I'm finally excited.
They've now made it. The first batch is now making it and made it into the country. So we've already started to see customers collecting them and posting pictures of them on Twitter. So we can't wait to see what you get shooting with. The second batch we're hoping won't be too long. But yes, demand has been unprecedented. We knew it would do well, but we didn't know it would do this well. And it has just gone mad, hasn't it, Claire?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where this is the lens that we've all been waiting for. Obviously, the 300 is a cracker. The 40-150 2.8, a cracker. But we did need a big, long pro zoom, didn't we? And so, when you look at this is the size of this. This is under 2 kilos, okay? And you are getting, so on the lens, it says 150-400, but in 35mm terms, you are looking at a 300-800, 4.5 constant aperture right the way throughout. What? I mean, it's less than 2 kilos. You've also got on the side here, you've got a little option which has the teleconverter built in. And this is a physical teleconverter. This isn't a digital converter. Yep. When you flick the switch, you physically feel and hear the teleconverter drop into place. You lock it in. That teleconverter is a 1.25. You could, if you wanted to, then add a 2x converter onto that. You are getting 2,000 mil in under 2 kilos. Now, people will say, oh, what about the quality? Olympus does one thing really well. That is glass quality. Yes, You've waited a long time for these lenses. Yes, there have been huge issues with HMRC, with Brexit and bringing them into the country, which is where the slowness has been, as Claire talked about with the repairs and things like that. But let me tell you, this is the lens to have waited for. If you've waited, if you've got one on pre-order, you will not be disappointed. I cannot believe the quality of this lens and for the weight, and when we can finally go out and abroad and Africa and safaris, one lens does all. It's absolutely amazing. And I know Claire's desperate to get our hands on it to shoot her little owls in the morning.
Yes, I am.
Up on the fence. But it's amazing, Frank, and thank you very much for the question. It's one of those lenses where we gave it a lot of hype, and as always, we were hope it's as good as this. And I think it was probably announced 2 years ago. I think we've known about it, but now it's here. They are all coming in. We've got batches coming every couple of weeks, so we will start clearing those back orders. Just be patient. It's worth the wait, and it's probably one of the best lenses we've ever made. So and I mean that sincerely. I cannot wait.
100%.
Cannot wait to start also seeing the organic reviews coming through, not just the reviews from our ambassadors and from our staff. We're looking forward to seeing the reviews from real end users, people like Andrew Fissek-Peters, Andy Rouse, all those top-end wildlife photographers that will be using it day in and day out, and giving you real life organic reviews. And once you start reading those, you'll be hooked, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We have the lovely Tom Ormerod in the comments. Hi, Tom. Good morning. Tom is one of our landscape photographers. He has asked us, Claire, looking forward to getting back out exploring. Where do you ladies want to visit first in the UK?
Oh, okay. Now, this is a really good question. Straight away, in my head, Anglesey.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to go to
Lee
Anglesey.
will be happy.
Lee will be happy. Lee and Avion, hello. I've always wanted to go to Anglesey. It means I can get some dinner for free and a good place to stay at a good discount. But also, I can't wait to get back up to Scotland. I have friends on Loch Lomond. I have my best friend moving to the Isle of Wight next month. I've just had my friends move. Friends are moving all over the place to Suffolk on the beautiful coast there. So I've got some really cheap free weekends coming up where my photography and my landscape photography is going to be full on. So I might even come and visit you, Claire, if you get the kettle on.
Yeah, I'll feed you. I'll put the barbecue on. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's good.
I think for me, I mean, I'd love to go down and visit you, Tom, down in Dorset Way and do Corfe Castle again. That was so much fun. I'd like to head back over to Wales and see the family. And they have beautiful landscapes there. And also maybe explore a bit of the Lake District this year. A bit later on in the year, maybe autumn, get up there and see some of the colours changing. So, yeah, definitely a lot of UK travel when we can this year. I think it's going to be great.
Absolutely. And obviously, as you know, I've moved. So I'm now back in my hometown of Dover. Never thought I'd come home, but I'm home. And we've got we've got the beautiful Dover Castle, and it overlooks my house. I mean, it all looks very beautiful at night. And so this is something I'm exploring at the moment. I downloaded the app which Tom recommended, which gives you sort of daylight times when the moon's up. I mean, it's an app that I've got that do some work on. It's brilliant, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of a learning curve. So here, I'm again learning new areas and new things to photograph. So that's quite exciting to be able to do it on my local landscape. So the Dover Castle is one that's in my sights if I'm going to sort of stay local. What about you, Tom? Where do you want to go? You know, what's your next on the hit list? Any more questions, Claire?
John Ashton has asked, there's loads, Claire. I think we're going to run out of time. John Ashton has asked, is there a show offer on the 150 to 400? There isn't, John, no. The lens is in such high demand and we're still taking orders for them that unfortunately there is no show offer on it. Farrak says, can we get one of those 150 to 400 lenses with mates rates?
Yeah,
Depends how good Claire is a mate to you.
Yeah, Claire is absolutely right. But what I would say, without giving too much information away, is Claire and I obviously head up the events team, and we are starting now to talk about where we're going to be able to do days out. We will be inviting you one-to-one rather than big groups, so you will get an opportunity to play with the lens for an hour, come and shoot with it for an hour. So those things are now starting to look, we can now start to look at them in our future planning calendar. We can't give you dates and specifics yet because we don't have them. We have to make sure that we're fully out of the pandemic to keep everybody safe. But it is something that we were fully endorsed in last year, and we're now just revisiting those plans. So if you're thinking, well, I want to see it first, I want to have a go, there will be opportunities as and when lockdown comes out. We are working with certain companies, outdoor companies, so that we can have areas to go and sit in hides and things like that. So we are working on it. You will get to shoot with it, and even though in very low demand, they will not be on retailers' shelves. Everything that's coming in is going straight out because customers have pre-ordered. So there isn't going to be one for you to go and look at probably anywhere in the country. So bear with us. As I said, it's only with the government guidelines and the pandemic sort of going out that Claire and I are now able to sit down and work out what we're going to do. And in the beginning, it will be just one-to-ones for an hour here, so it's going to be a fairly slow thing. But if you're seriously looking at this lens, you will get that opportunity to play with it soon. So don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep an eye on the Olympus Image Space website. If you don't already, sign up to the newsletters, and on our social channels at Olympus UK. Whenever we plan something or make an event live, we always post it out on social as well. So be sure to keep an eye on that. And you should see a few more Facebook Lives coming up in the meantime as well. We have a comment from Margaret saying, I've just bought the 75 to 300. Brilliant. Ooh, nice. I love sunrises and wildlife. Off to Zambia next November. Oh, fantastic.
How nice
COVID scuppered last year and this year. Yes, COVID has scuppered a lot of travel plans, but you've got something to look forward to next November, Margaret. That sounds fantastic.
Okay, so I do have a question. I'm going to go to Michael By. It says, will you be offering the Pro Service Advanced and Elite as well as the Standard Plus? Again, this is a question that's a little bit up in the air at the moment. Obviously, OM Digital Solutions, we're still in that early phase of settling everything out. And obviously with the huge delays that the government has put on us with the no VAT restrictions and the Brexit restrictions, some of the things that we would have been getting to now to sort out have sort of been put back. What we really want to focus on first is getting our shop open, getting the VAT number in, getting the 150 to 400s and the 100 to 400s back across the ocean into stores and into your hands. So that's what we're going to concentrate on first. Obviously, any news, Claire heads our social team up. Any really interesting and exciting news about that sort of thing will be on our social channel. So keep your eyes out. As soon as we have any detail, and we've been as transparent as we possibly can, as soon as we have any details about that sort of thing, we will put that up for you. So it is one Claire will mark down, and one we'll keep our eyes on in the future. And hopefully, if we can't get to answer it to you directly, we will definitely answer it on social at some point. I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question from Ken Cox. What would be the fastest card you would recommend for the EM1X for sports shooting?
Okay, well,
fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, and it's fast as you possibly can afford. When you go up to those top spec cards, they do get expensive. I'm sure there'll be our retailers on the photography show this weekend will have some really good deals on SD cards. Definitely get our UHS2 cards, especially if you're shooting with EM1X, because both of those slots are UHS2. At least 300 times, at least, anything you can get. So I would look at all the specs and get the one that you can afford that is the top one. Because when you're shooting with an EM1X and say, high speed, you can be shooting up to 60 frames a second. And what you don't want is for the card, the camera to be slowed down by the card. Now, that's not so bad on an EM1X because it has actually a very small buffer because it doesn't need, it has 2 processors in that camera. So it speeds through reading and writing. If you flip over the SD card, typically I haven't got one here, I've moved everything here, you'll see two strips of contacts on the back, and that allows the data to be transferred much more quickly. EM1X, very small buffer, doesn't need it. When you go to the EM1 Mark III, even more important that you get a faster card because that has a smaller buffer. Even though you can shoot 271 shots raw continuously, you will start to get slowing down. So keep that in mind, that, what you don't want to do is spend sort of £1,500, £2,000 on a camera and then go put a £20 card in there. That is really going to make the difference. So whatever you can afford, the top spec, but UHS2 at least 300 times, make it a 10 rate, a series 10 card minimum. All right, I hope that helps.
Absolutely. We've got just a couple of comments in. Steve Newman, I'm getting the 40-150 this weekend. Fantastic. You will not be disappointed with that.
I love that lens. Love that lens.
Trevor Ager, getting good results on the 100-400 zoom. Fantastic.
Yes, and again, now if you've been waiting, go on. Sorry, Claire.
There you go. I think there's a slight lag between us.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're waiting for the 100-400, again, they've been out of stock, but they're also now starting to ship, and all back orders will be fulfilled on that first shipment. So if you've got one on back order, don't worry, they're on their way.
Yeah, they'll be in very, very soon. Andy Green, there's always a free room down here in Dorset for you, Claire. I'm not too bad a cook.
I love Andy Green. Andy Green is amazing. Aperture photography, does these frogs workshops. Brilliant. I've been on one. If you like frogs and you want to get to a workshop, Andy's your man. He's fantastic. You can do bugs and all sorts of snakes. I didn't do the snake one. I'm not very good with reptiles, but I love the frogs are so cute. Hopefully, Andy, we'll get to see you soon. I'm really looking forward to catching up in the flesh and we can have a proper catch up.
Tom Ormerod has replied to us. He said lakes. So he obviously wants to get to the lakes as well. Tom, let's go there together. Let's go shooting.
Airbnb.
And and Margaret says, can't wait to get out and travel for a staycation. I think there'll be a lot of UK staycations this year, definitely.
Absolutely. So let's do a couple of more questions because we've only got sort of 8 minutes left before the end. I know we can talk for England, can't we?
We can.
I'm going to answer a slightly. Jonathan Duckworth says, will there be a Pen F2? The Pen F is probably the loveliest camera out there. It's always difficult to give away anything that's coming or not coming. We obviously promoted a lens map, a roadmap for the lenses. When it comes to bodies and things like that, these things are always kept a little bit close to our chest because we want you to be excited about the future. So I can't answer that question as of yet. But what I would say about the Pen F1 is you are so right. What a lovely, lovely camera. The black and white monochrome mode on that camera is absolutely to die for. It's gorgeous, built with a single shell, absolutely lovely in design, and wouldn't it be lovely? I also think that, but I honestly don't know. We just don't know. We will wait. As I said, most things, our direction at the moment is getting product across the channel and getting it into your hands and getting those back orders clear. That's where our main focus is at the moment, and just sort of keeping you interactive and keeping you connected on social media. So they're the two things where we are at the moment. But let me tell you, things are starting to speed up and we will be giving you news of all sorts of new stuff as and when they come through. So sorry, I can't be more specific on that one, but I hope you understand where we are with OM Digital Solutions.
Absolutely. And we'll take maybe one more and then we'll let you know what's coming up from Olympus soon. Steve Newman said, what is the name of the app you mentioned? Now, I think I've got it on my phone here. Let me find out the app that I use that Tom recommended.
Tom. I mean, it is a paid for app. Yeah.
Well, this one that I've got is called Clear Outside. And that's the one that I use. Is that a different one to what you use?
Yeah.
Well, Tom, if you're in the comments, let us know.
Yeah, the one I use is called Photo Pills. It is, I mean, let me tell you, it's a learning curve, but it tells you everything. It tells you blue hour, golden hour, where the moon is, where the sun is, where it falls within where you want to shoot.
Clever.
It's full on. I mean, it is a paid for app, but let me tell you, it's probably the best $9.99 I've ever spent. But I started looking, thinking, I need some time with Tom. He's got to give me, because it's quite in depth. So yeah, keep that in mind. But
I think we need
brilliant.
I think we need a day out shooting with Tom when we can when lockdown lifts. We all need to go out with Tom and do a Facebook Live from Dorset. That's what we should do.
Yeah. Oh my! I'm there. I missed the last one, didn't I? I was away somewhere. So
you were
okay.
swanning off.
We got 5 minutes. I know it's terrible. We got 5 minutes. Let's talk about first thing, just quickly. What I wanted to say to you, if you're at home and you're in lockdown, or you're now starting to be working from home, you're using OM system. Get the OM Beta webcam software. It's free from Olympus website. And this is shot. I'm using the EM1X here at the moment. If you want better quality and better sound, get tuned in. All I've got is a little microphone, which was a few pounds, which you can get pretty much anywhere. But if you really want good quality, if you want to sort of embarrass all your work friends by coming on looking amazing and clean and sharp, use your camera as a webcam, because that software is free and it really works. And as I said, to have better sound, really good broadcast quality on your Teams meetings or on your Zoom meetings, and you want to look professional, this is something you should be shooting with. We use it all the time and we don't promote it enough. It's really easy. You put your camera onto video, that's it, it's done. So simple. So that's the one thing I'm going to promote, which is free this weekend. Use your camera as a webcam. Don't use your web on the laptop, because they're rubbish. So Claire, what have we got coming up? Let's go quickly over what we've got coming up.
Today we have got Andy Rouse. I think he's up next, followed by Gavin Hoey. So a couple of great talks. So make sure you tune into them over the next couple of hours. Don't forget about the special offers, the 10% off with London Camera Exchange and Wex over the weekend. And of course, make sure you follow us over on Olympus UK social channels. So we're regular Facebook Lives. We've got Zoom workshops. And loads more interactive stuff to keep you shooting whilst we're still staying at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to have Andy Rouse and Gavin Hoey on the photography show live, what a great way to kick off the weekend after us. I mean, some fabulous images and both amazing speakers. So fun and informative. I love both of their styles. And obviously you've got a wildlife shooter compared to a portrait photographer, but there is no doubt you'll get hints and tips from lots of speakers over the weekend. And also, as Claire says, there are lots of, you don't have to be an Olympus shooter to go over our back catalogue on the Olympus UK social channel. If you're a bird photographer and you missed David Tipling's talks and webinars, they're all recorded and they're all on the Olympus channels that you can go back over and get some hints and tips. Obviously, we'd love you to be an Olympus photographer, but, we don't exclude anyone. We don't like excluding anyone. So if you want hints and tips, there's a whole back catalogue to go through. But Andy's and Gavin's talk's going to be fantastic, aren't they, Claire?
They really are. Yeah, I can't wait for them. They're going to be great.
Okay, well, obviously, we're going to get David back in to wrap things up. David? Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Are you?
Thank you so much. A lot of fun as always. And just picking up on one of your final points there about using your camera's video capabilities. Actually, I think that's a really strong hand that Olympus has. The ability to take live video over USB rather than, frankly, faffing around with an HDMI cable out and getting a capture card and popping that into your laptop. Because that's exactly what I'm doing right now, and it's fine. But there are simpler ways to do it, and you still get the same broadcast quality. So level up your Teams meetings, because for the time being, while we are all remote, this is our calling card, and the better we come across down the line means meetings that we have, whether it's pitching for new work or whatever, it just kind of lift yourself above the crowd a little bit, which is sometimes what we all have to try and do in the competitive world of creativity.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, we're all still shooters, but you know, you've got to think a little bit more. You don't have to be a video expert to be able to plug your camera with one lead directly into your laptop. It's so easy. And as I said, the software is free, but it really does, as you say, David, up your game when you're doing interviews and you know, just sort of Teams meetings. You do look that little bit more professional. So if you've got an OM, you should be downloading that free software.
I'm going to let you go because I know Andy Rouse is kicking off in just a moment. You mentioned Gavin, he's talking later on. Glyn Dewis is going to be talking shortly, doing some Photoshop stuff. There's so much to look at, so much to learn throughout the day here. Claire, thank you so much for getting us off to a cracking start on a Saturday morning. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the next couple of days as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us and see you again soon. Enjoy the show. Have a great show.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.